Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the world of V-Gaming Junkie News. All the dross has been eradicated by Sigvud of the Knights of Katarina, so there's nothing but pure gaming-related meatiness. It's all about the electronic good stuff as we dive deep in all that's new in the various interactive virtual worlds. Starting things out, Minecraft Earth is being shut off. For those of you who aren't aware of exactly what it seems to be an augmented reality game, of course, based around Minecraft. Comparisons are made, naturally, to Pokemon Go, but it seems to be less about catching creatures and more about building structures. It looks pretty interesting, but with recent events it probably didn't stand much of a chance. It's going to be discontinued on June 30th, so you still have a chance to check it out if you really want to. Apparently the game is drastically reducing things like crafting times and in-purchase costs in its final days, so probably the best time to do so. So the rumors were in fact true. That's right, the ambitious Fallout Guys Doom crossover is in fact happening. Okay, so they won't be adding any double-barreled shotguns or chainsaws into the game, sadly, it's just a costume set. Oh well, you can always use 1993 Doom mods if you want something like that. It's still pretty cool and honestly completely out of left field. I would have thought Mortal Kombat or Super Smash Bros. Would be the first to snag something Doom-related, not a game as silly as Fall Guys. Maybe in the near future, but in the meantime this is pretty cool if you're a fan of both. Given the crossover between Doom Eternal and Animal Crossing memes, anything's possible. So Sony appears to be having trouble in their country of origin as the PS5 continues to undersell in Japan. While short stock has been blamed, I believe many factors are responsible for this. Ever since Sony moved their headquarters out of Japan in favor of California, they've started hardcore censoring many anime-styled games from Japan. I'm not referring to hardcore stuff, mind you, I'm talking content that the Nintendo Switch showed uncensored, which really says a lot. Evidently, Sony also made the cross button the affirmation button in all areas where it was initially the circle in Japan. Essentially, they pandered to the US standard, which really got a lot of blowback from Japanese gamers. The overall feeling is that Sony doesn't value the Japanese market so much anymore, and I can honestly understand why this notion would exist. Sony needs to lighten up a little and give people more choices, both in terms of the content they play and how they play it. Nobody likes a control freak, just ask many people who've had crazy exes. So in other news, the developer of Path of Exile intends to show updates to the sequel. Chris Wilson brought up the second game that's been in development and was announced back in 2019. Sadly, the current state of things has caused development to become slower than anticipated, but there should be new updates this year. They chose to focus their efforts on keeping the first game updated, which I think is the right way to go about it rather than abandon it for the hot new thing. The second one can wait until it's good and ready, delayed games good eventually and all that good stuff. I remember the first one actually being a pretty decent Diablo-style game, so here's hoping for the second one. So I've got bad news to anyone relying on the Wii U or 3DS for Netflix. The service is being shut down on June 30th. How coincidental that it just so happens to line up with the end of Minecraft Earth, but I'm pretty sure it is in fact just a coincidence and not a conspiracy involving aliens. Perhaps making matters worse is that the system that arguably replaced both the Nintendo Switch doesn't yet have a Netflix app of its own. Hopefully one is at least added before June 30th. It'd be a shame for Nintendo system owners to have no way of having Netflix. Well, you know, apart from a Roku stick, a computer, a phone, a tablet, or a smart TV. Still, it would probably be convenient to have one on the Switch. In other news, Hitman 3 will be adding permanent shortcuts to their levels. GameSpot reports that the game will be having permanently accessed shortcuts to get to assassination jobs more quickly. IO claims this is to encourage replayability, exploration, and experimentation. While I haven't yet played any of the Hitman games, Splinter Cell's probably the closest I got. I played many Metroidvania or just adventure games in general, and I can tell you it's heavily appreciated to have unlockable shortcuts. It really helps when you've taken the long way around something and would prefer to skip over it the next time around. Sure, you can rely on fast travel points, but it helps to have paths loop back around to make everything feel less linear and the world more complete. So it would seem SpongeBobs SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated is actually coming to mobile phones. That's right, both iOS and Android will be getting it on January 21st. It'll certainly be interesting to see how a touchscreen-only scheme will handle the game's various different kinds of actions. Hopefully things like Bluetooth controllers will be supported. Having played through the game pretty recently myself, I can vouch that it's quite a fun little platformer type of game, both originally and the highly faithful remake. And as always, from Game Radar's own page, it's time for the next week's roundup of release dates. It seems something truly miraculous has happened because there's actually a few releases this week to report on. The 11th sees Glyph for Switch, and the 12th has King Arthur Knight's Tale for PC. Scaleboy Refractured releases for PC on the 13th, and MXGP 2020 releases on the 14th for PS5. Last but certainly not least, the 14th sees Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game complete edition for PC, Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and Stadia. Given that last week literally only had a single release, that's not too bad. This week's epic freebie is Crying Suns, a tactical roguelike that puts you in the role of a space fleet commander as you explore a mysteriously fallen empire. I definitely wasn't just reading from the store's description there. Better keep your eyes peeled on next week's epic freebie though, because it's pretty massive. And as always, that rounds out this news week. I really do hope you enjoyed and were well enough informed. As always, I Let's Play every single day, 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. I live stream Mondays and Fridays unless otherwise specified at 4:30 p.m. and these news programs are Sundays at 6 p.m. That's Eastern Standard Time, of course, but you can always subscribe and rip and tear that bell icon if you don't want to have to worry about keeping track of time zones. A like is always appreciated, but I just hope you genuinely liked it, and that is it for now. Thank you so much for tuning in with me. Spread this video around like Minecraft construction, and I'll see you next time. Capitalize on life, peace out, have a good one, and I'll see you next week.